Sometimes you just gotta go Bardown.
Kirill, top titty 2x4 to end the game. That was nice.
Bardown Beauties.
That's the sexy part of the game, is it not? The plays and the goals and the...
Yeah, that's what you guys like. I mean, it is great.
And now, a new episode of Bardown Beauties with Jessi Pierce and Kirsten Krull. All we want is a gosh darn parade. All we want is a gosh darn parade. The sentiment doesn't get any more Minnesotan than that. SotaStick knows Minnesota and Minnesota sports. Grab the parade tee, even available with the adult word for darn, and support our state's need for a championship parade. Available now for a limited time only. Also exclusively available through SotaStick is a Brock Faber and Marc-Andre Fleury designed hats. I am rocking the Brock Faber one as we speak. If you are watching it, looks great, feels great, and supports a greater cause, with all proceeds going to the Minnesota Wild Foundation, which helps grow the game of hockey here in the state of hockey. Get yours while they last. And as always, smash code BardownBeauties at checkout for 15% off all purchases at SotaStick.com. What's going on, everybody? Oh, wow, that was a different intro for me. Hello, everybody. End of the season, guys. This is where we're at. I'm Jessi Pierce, writer for NHL.com. She's Kirsten Krull, in arena host. We are the Bardown Beauties. Season wrap. Before we get into the Minnesota Wild and all the exit interviews that we have done thus far, as always, recording on a Monday. John Hines, Bill Guerin speaking today when you're listening to this Tuesday, so won't have official updates from them. But Kirsten, Game 7s. We love us some Game 7s in the playoffs. I know you're probably a little less thrilled with the teams that are moving on from said Game 7s, but we got two multi-goal comebacks in the third period for the Dallas Stars to advance, again, in kind of an embarrassing fashion over the Colorado Avalanche. Mikko Rantanen saying F you to his former employer a little bit with a hat trick, including the empty netter. That advances Dallas after they were down in the series. And then you had an even more dramatic double overtime victory for the Winnipeg Jets against the St. Louis Blues, who looked like they might be able to knock off the President's Trophy winners. Cole Perfetti, y'all remember him. 1.6 seconds left to tie it in Winnipeg. And Connor Hellebuyck manages to sneak out some good saves in those double overtimes, and the Winnipeg Jets are moving on as well.
No, Blues, Jets was crazy. And to be quite honest, Winnipeg is, it's not, there are teams I hate more. So I'm really just indifferent. They're like meh to me, like, okay, like either way coming out of that series is like, I don't love St. Louis, don't love Winnipeg. I'm indifferent. But last night's Game 7, incredible. Even before that 1.6 seconds you mentioned left in the game to tie it, even before then, you saw the puck for Winnipeg almost cross the goal line, just right there. We remember seeing that photo, like literally game of inches. So I think Winnipeg and St. Louis's was just theatrics all around, which makes it so much fun. So indifferent, and also hopefully Hellebuyck can do well, I guess, in the second round. I guess I'm not sold on Winnipeg just because of postseason Hellebuyck, which we've really seen in the series against the Blues. So I don't know, but whatever. Dallas, I am still praying for their downfall.
I know. I'm sorry. That puts Winnipeg and Dallas against each other in round 2, Vegas and Edmonton on the other half of the Western Conference. Then you've got Toronto and Florida, a rematch of last year, and Washington and Carolina. How are we feeling about the Winnipeg-Dallas series now, because of all of this, could be really, really fun.
I'm going back to what I said. I'm really hoping Hellebuyck finds his game in the postseason, a consistent game in the postseason at that.
I mean, there's something you have to look at the coaches. You can't play him as hard as you did down the stretch, especially when Winnipeg was in such good position anyway. You didn't need to.
1,000%.
Like, allow him to rest, allow him to reset before he goes in and plays the biggest games of the season, especially against St. Louis, who was coming in hot and had something to prove, right? Like, St. Louis gave them a fight every time, and I just find it funny that he got pulled in every game in St. Louis as well. Like,
I mean, 1,000% agree with you. You definitely still notice that difference in his game. And granted, they heavily played him. That's a whole other discussion for another time. But
yeah,
I hate Dallas. Let's go Jets.
I know. I mean, even Nathan MacKinnon on losing to Dallas, he's like, they were without their best defenseman and one of their best forwards, and they still beat us. And so that says a little something about that.
Do you know what it says about Colorado? They weren't built different after all.
Turns out Ford isn't the way to go. Maybe Chevy's in Toyota.
Yeah, it was built different, presented by Toyota.
Stop.
It was like,
it was presented by Toyota?
yes.
That's even more hilarious.
I can't with them.
That's kind of funny. It does sound like Robertson and Heiskanen will be back for round 2 after they had missed the entire first round, so that's probably good for them concerning for Winnipeg. Toronto feels a little different. Actually, that's a lie. I thought they felt different. I thought, you know what, maybe this is a good little playoff team that could make a push. And then they kind of choked in the first round. They managed to get out, but they couldn't close it out like they should have early on. You got to imagine them against Florida. There's got to be those sentiments of like, remember when Florida absolutely dominated us last year? Now they do have 3 former Florida Panthers on their team, including in net with Anthony Stolarez. But I think that's another series that I'm excited about.
I want Florida to lose.
Why?
I think I'm developing a hatred towards Florida as well.
Is it jealousy? Is there like a little green-eyed monster about it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Not with Florida. I just think I'm developing a hatred towards them.
But I need an explanation.
I don't really have one.
Oh, okay.
I really don't have one. I just vibes.
Just the vibes. The vibes
That's
are low on
literally
Florida.
how I live my life.
Fair. I didn't know if it was like a Matthew Tkachuk thing or like, I don't know.
Well, I'm a former Matthew Tkachuk lover.
Former.
I don't know. If I hate Florida, I can't like Matthew Tkachuk.
It's true.
Still love the way he just chews his mouth guard, though. That's nice.
Just drives me nuts. Get some gum.
I love it. I love it. No, I hate gum. So I don't know. I love the mouth guard.
I found a new
brand.
love for gum lately. I don't know why. I'm just kind of all about it. But yeah, and Washington and Carolina, Vegas, Edmonton, fine.
Go
Great.
Canes, baby.
See, give it to Oves.
No.
Yeah.
He already has his cup. He has the record. He's fine.
Just bow on top of the season for him. That's all. It's an easy story. It's an easy story. As I mentioned, let's switch gears into the Minnesota Wild. It does make me feel a little better, Kirsten, with those dramatics. It makes me feel a little better about Minnesota losing. It was a 50-50 series, right? And I will be honest, I was more bummed than I think I've ever been at the end of a playoff. Not because I thought this team was made for a deep run, not because I thought, this, that, or the other. I just felt that they were the better team in a lot of those games. And I thought, honestly, they could get out of that first round. Now, I'm not saying I would have loved a matchup against Edmonton or the Kings for that matter. And again, I'm not saying that they would have pushed on, but I did feel like it was different. Now, I know that narrative got misconstrued when I tweeted about it. I'm not saying, oh, well, they tried hard and that's good enough for me. And I'm not saying like, yay, let's give them a participation ribbon because they made it to the playoffs. That's not at all. You cannot say that this team was not different. You cannot say that this was the same old song and dance when it came to the playoffs, because in years past, you could easily point to 1, 2, 3, 4 different instances or 4 different breakdowns that were just atrocious where they looked like they were getting swept in 4. That was not the case in this series at all with Vegas. I mean, they played great. Philip Gustafsson did his job. They had Kirill Kaprizov, Matt Boldy going on that top line. They, on the other side, were shutting down Vegas's top lines. They were getting to the inside. And I think, again, Minnesota was probably the better team. Vegas just got some good looks. Minnesota got some good looks and some puck bounces, and that's hockey. So I'm not saying like, oh, I'm proud they tried so hard. That's not the case. I just say this was different. It felt good to watch them play such a competitive series for a change.
Yeah. I mean, outside of game 1, I had been saying every single game the Wild were right there.
Mm-hmm.
Games that they didn't win, I don't want to say easily could have taken, but it very much could have just as been theirs as much as Vegas's. So my confidence, even watching this team play in the first round against Vegas, I just kept saying, this is not the team I've been used to seeing as of late. They looked completely different. They looked ready. They looked prepared. And it was a really fun series to watch. I mean, disappointing, yes, because it could have been theirs, but it didn't work out that way.
We did have a chance to speak with Gustav Nyquist, who had the infamous offsides review. Here's what he had to say about that play from his perspective and his accountability for that overturned goal that could have given Minnesota the win, probably, and a 3-1 series lead. Here's Nyquist.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, it's an unfortunate play. At the end of the day, it's on me to stay on side there, and from my view, there's a guy in between, and I can't really see the puck, and I was 1,000% sure it was over the line, obviously, and it wasn't. So obviously, that's unfortunate. But those plays, you can look at it different ways too. Those plays happens 20 times a game, and if the linesman, I'm not saying he should have called it, because I like when they let the play go, like Brass's break. He had a breakaway in game 4, I think. So I'm not blaming the line, but if he calls it right away, the ref makes the right call, which is a hard call to make. But the play blows dead, and no one's talking about this. Right. So it's just like an offside, like 20 other times during the game. So, but it's unfortunate, obviously, and it's that was a tough moment in the game, obviously, when the chance to go up one with a minute left in a big game. So yeah.
I mean, I appreciate he can take accountability. I can appreciate that he didn't see the puck. That's fine, but I still think there was a little lack of awareness there. It happens, right? It happens. I don't think I'd like to think that was a game-changing moment, but they had opportunities to put it away other times as well, right? Nyquist did add, obviously he hits free agency. He would like to stay here. I don't see that happening. What about you?
It's tough to say, because I don't know. I mean, they picked him up for a reason, and I'm just this is my answer coming from trying to put myself in like a GM's mind. Maybe for the right price they would keep him, but also I think I was disappointed because he wasn't the player that we saw here 2 years ago, and I was very, very excited when we acquired him from Nashville.
Yeah, I was
a little bummed about that he didn't continue the trajectory that we saw when we had him last time.
It was very lackluster return, right? I think we were both on the same page with that. Like, oh, this is good. I can take a 2nd-round pick for that. Like, this is fine. No, it did not pan out as well. And of course, you can't really project that, right? Like, you look at his lack of production in Nashville, and maybe you just thought, okay, well, that's because he's in Nashville and they weren't doing well. They couldn't get it figured out there, but he can come back here and do it. And he did. I mean, by the end of it, he wasn't even on the PK. So really, he didn't contribute anything. And I think part of that's just age. I just don't know that he ever found the fit here with these guys, which is weird because it's a lot of the same players that he was familiar with. So you kind of had hoped for that transition to be much easier. Speaking of guys who could potentially not be with the team, Marco Rossi, obviously the big storyline as well, gets demoted throughout the course of the playoffs to the 4th line, which again, I thought he did well. Now, Marco Rossi did very point blank yesterday state, I respect the decision to be put on the 4th line, but I was obviously disappointed, but I've been taught to respect those decisions because it is always the team first. He had a one-on-one conversation, as all the players do, with Coach John Hines before he leaves for his summer and his offseason. Did not meet and will not meet with Bill Guerin as far as he knows. He is letting his agent kind of handle all those contract situations as he is an RFA. I don't know. The more, it just feels like there's more writing on the wall, Kirsten, that he will more than likely be traded this offseason.
Well, from my understanding, from what I've heard, it feels like a big part of the disconnect is he wants more money than what Bill Guerin and team are offering him. And I can understand not wanting to throw all the money at him too, but I lost my train of thought for a second. I think that goes back to, I think that's just the big disconnect. And I think his agent is trying to push for more money. I don't want to say that he's worth, but yeah, more than the Wild are willing to pay him.
He, as he said, I'm no doubt for sure a top 6 guy. And I quote, I would play the audio for you guys, but it's a little harder to hear him sometimes. So we're just,
No, Marco Rossi, you are a top 6 guy.
That's what he said. He said, I've no doubt I'm for sure a top 6 guy. And he also mentions from 40 points to 60 points this year. And he said, and I'm always going to improve. So he was definitely kind of selling himself a little bit to us during his media exit interviews. I'll just be curious. I think there's value in him. I've said it for 2 years now that there is a value to him, and that's why I think he would be traded. If you're going to put him on the fourth line and not ever bump him back up during the playoffs, which seemed a little odd to me, because I've usually understood John Heinz's, and I think he played fine. I always go back and forth on this, because in-game movements for sure are one thing, right? Like if you see a guy all of a sudden be pushed down to the fourth line, sometimes that is reflective of how he's performing, but other times it's just to try something new, right? Like, and I do believe that. I don't think it's always necessarily being like, well, he's playing so terrible, but I just thought it was odd to not move Marco back up in the lineup after Freddie Gaudreau had kind of fumbled a little, didn't really do a whole lot, or Gustav Nyquist for that matter. Right now, Nyquist obviously being a winger, so it's a little different there. But definitely interesting. I think you could get a decent, maybe a pick or a player and a pick.
Oh, if you're getting rid of Marco Rossi, you better be getting more than just a pick in return.
Yeah. I mean, what would you think then? What would make you satisfied? Do you want a 1-for-1, like a player that's as equally like a young guy like Marco is? Does it need to be a center? What are your bullet point stipulations? I'll bring these to Bill when I chat with him. I'll let him know that this is what we think.
We absolutely need a center. I want a 1-for-1 player and maybe even a pick. But a pick alone? Absolutely not. Are you kidding me?
It's fair. So that would be the no, it has to be more than a pick.
Like if you are letting go of Marco Rossi, you better be getting a hell of a deal and a hell of a player back in return. You better be going after top free agents this offseason. And no, I'm not talking about Brock Nelson.
Definitely. I don't think Brock Nelson wants to come here, frankly.
And respectfully, I don't want him either.
I just think it's, him coming here would be kind of like, people would look at it as, oh, the swan song, he's coming home. Maybe he's not done. Plus, you're playing for the Colorado Avalanche, who have some pretty good players. Not that Minnesota doesn't, but they have some pretty good players. So I would agree with you. I suppose it has to be more than a pick. I mean, he's 60 points in a season has to look pretty good to some people, right? Like maybe Buffalo, Vancouver. Maybe that's the play, is a team that didn't make the playoffs. Or maybe he could be kind of that middling veteran presence for like a San Jose, right? But San Jose feels a little bit smaller to me too, and they're kind of in a weird spot. I don't know. I would see a player and a pick coming back probably for sure. Maybe 2 players. Do you think you get 2 players for Marco Rossi?
Again, it just depends what you're looking for.
That's fair. That's fair.
It depends the players you're going after in exchange. There's a lot of moving parts, but you better be getting a haul back for Marco Rossi, is all I'm saying.
Well, and I do want to remind people we have Danilia Yurov expected to come and join the team this next year, so that gives a little bit more of offensive sway. I believe he's kind of a playmaker. He's definitely a scorer. He said his long goodbye to his KHL team on the Instagram the other day, which is good. Found it curious, though, Kirsten. So we talked to Kirill Kaprizov as well, and we asked him, have you spoken to Danilia? It's the Russian camaraderie. And he said, no, I don't talk to him at all, which I felt very weird. He didn't say it like abruptly, like there's any problem or anything like that. But I just thought that was kind of odd. He said, no, I don't talk with him. That's all he said. And we just kind of dropped it like, oh, all right.
I don't know. Like, I kind of understand, like, he's not up here yet. It's probably going to change once he's up here.
But he had talked to Huznadinov, and I think he talked, excuse me, I believe he was talking to Danilia at one point in time when we asked him about him. And it's not Kirill's responsibility to be that liaison. Why am I losing my voice? Do you hear how it's just...
I do.
It's removing itself from my body. Excuse me. But yeah, I thought that was kind of odd. We did have a great conversation with Kirill. I think, as we have talked about before on the podcast, Kirsten, this season obviously showed him a lot. Yes, it's disappointing, but I think even the way they performed in those playoffs showed him what he needed to, as far as, I want to win, right? This is the team that I want to win with. This is the team that could be that for him. Money is not an object for the Minnesota Wild when it comes to re-signing him. That's for sure. But here is what Kirill had to say about his future. Or, let's play the audio. We're just going to play the audio so you guys can determine how it went. Here's Kirill on Minnesota and possibly his future. It's really short. He basically just said, yeah, I love it here. Should be all good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's Kirill. Again, read what you will into it. It feels like he is going to re-sign here from my perspective, Kirsten.
I think it was promising. It definitely was promising hearing him say that, and just seeing his candor online, just his nonchalantness about it, it made me feel good about hearing and seeing that from him. And also, I think just in general in Minnesota, it's a fun time to be a part of this state, this city, with the young talent across all sports that we've got, like Justin Jefferson and Kirill. Like, I think it's just a fun time to be here too. So I can see why he would want to stay.
He loves it here. I wonder though, would you consider it concerning if he doesn't sign an 8-year extension, let's say? Like if he goes for 5 or 6, which, isn't super tight and locked up. What do you think about that? Like, I guess
if he doesn't sign an 8-year extension,
I'd
almost feel better about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it was Russo too that I was reading about online that brought up that point, like when he's in his prime right now. And if
he'll be 29 when the new contract would kick in.
Yeah. Right. So and that is risky. It happens. See, like he's already had the injuries. We've talked about that, how that's a little bit of a risk. You're in your prime when the contract sets in. I don't know. And then, just naturally the way hockey is, you do fall off a little. Not saying don't come for me, anybody, about me saying, oh, Krill's not good, he's not worth the money. He is. But I do think agreeing with that point that was made, it just brings up question marks because you don't know.
Yeah. And he did say, Kirill also added, he's healthy. He'll use the summer to kind of rest and recover, but there's been no additional surgeries needed or anything for that undisclosed lower body injury, which obviously kept him out of the lineup for a while. So that's good. But I do have to think that injury in and of itself probably lessened the appetite for him a little bit on the market, right? Like I have to say that probably worked in Minnesota's favor a little bit. And so from Kirill's perspective, why really run that risk? Of course, another team would be thrilled to pick him up. I'm not saying that there's other teams that would be like, oh, we don't want him. But I think it probably raises more questions and whatnot. Whereas you have a team here in Minnesota that's very much ready, willing to just have him sign on the dotted line, a blank check, right? So I think that bodes well for Minnesota. And the nice thing is it does sound like Kirill does want to have this locked up, squared away this summer. And so he can go into next season. He doesn't have to worry about it. It's not something he's going to drag out.
He also he seems like a loyal guy, and I think he's loyal to Minnesota. Not that he has to be, but he just seems happy. And why mess with a good thing?
Exactly. And again, they love him. It's got to be nice to be that superstar, and it'd be important for Minnesota to have that because they need another franchise player. You could argue that Mikko Koivu was probably the first franchise player, but he wasn't the superstar that Kirill Kaprizov is and is going to continue to be. Again, this man had a Hart Trophy-like season going before he got hurt. And even then, he picked right back up where he left off. Like, he looked good in the playoffs. There were only a few times where I'm like, that looks a little off. But granted, that's the playoffs. Yeah. That's part of it. And I agree. I think he seems very happy here. I don't want to say content because I think he's always going to be hungry. To him, winning is more important. It's very obvious. It's what we've stated from the get-go. It has nothing to do with the money being offered. He wants to win a Stanley Cup. And I think they've shown what is here with Faber, with Boldy, with Philip Gustafsson doing what he has done too. I think it says a lot about the team. He felt good about the playoffs. I actually had the opportunity to just chat one-on-one with him a little bit this weekend as well. And, he asked my opinion. How did you think we did this year? And I said, I was actually very surprised. I admitted to him, I was like, I didn't think you guys would be this strong. And, I think that made him happy to even have that extra perspective. Yes, I made Kirill happy by telling him that I thought you guys were going to suck and you didn't. So, but it is, I think there's enough here for the promise. I also have to give a shout out to Matt Zuccarello, who we asked about with Kirill, and Zuki was classic patented Zuki, hilarious, talked about how I think Kirill will be most happy if I also get an 8-year extension and a raise, and how that's what's going to keep Kirill happy. And then he also brought up how he's 37, and so things always hurt, and how Brock shot his ball off, and just classic Zuki.
I still wince at that. That sounds really brutal.
I know. And then Zuccarello left the room and asked if he won the nicest player of the year award, which sometimes media members give out to their teams, like the player that was the most most available. And we're like, sure. He's like, is that your goal? And he's like, yeah, I wasn't very good at it last year. It's like, well, that's true. You
Love that for him.
Weren't very good at it. So let's see what other wrap-up points we have. Philip Gustafsson. Do we want to talk about Philip Gustafsson?
Let's talk about Phil.
Let's talk about Phil. He looked a lot like, I finally figured it out. In his media interview, and I don't know if you've seen the photos of him, he looked a little bit like Young Gravy. He was giving me Young Gravy vibes. Yes. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They don't look alike at all. What are you talking about?
Oh my goodness. All right, let's I'm going to do a little Google search here. Where is it? I know they posted all their pictures. He did. It was his hair. It was his hair and his outfit of choice yesterday. I'm not criticizing that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But you, as a Rochester native like Young Gravy, I thought would enjoy that. Look, tell me this man.
Just when he was mad.
Let's see. How do I send this to you? We're gonna send it. Apologies, guys. If you haven't, go to Wild's Twitter, and you can also see what I'm about to show Kirsten. Kirsten. Oh, well, I can't send it to you. Well, let me send it to you. But let's see. Here we go. There we go. Now go look at that and tell me that doesn't look like Young Gravy a little bit. It doesn't give you Young Gravy vibes. It's the way the hair is kind of feathered. It's the chain. No?
Literally no. I mean, the shirt maybe looks like... Himself does not look like Young Gravy.
It's the hair.
The shirt is something he would wear. No, the hair doesn't even.
That's all I could think about.
Because Matt has like long, wavy hair, and it's like flowy. That's like down to his
Matt
shoulders.
Young Gravy's real name.
Yes, Matt is Young Gravy's real name.
But yeah, no, Philip Gustafsson was fantastic. Obviously, night and day compared to last year. Last year was very short, very quiet. He knew it was different, but I love that he acknowledged what I think we all noticed is he was having fun. Like, I remember last year talking about it after the season and saying he seemed so tense and he didn't have that cool, calm collective that we had seen Gus the year prior, right? And you could just sense that was off on him. And he acknowledged that. He said, I just kind of got back to relaxing and resetting and just kind of keeping it cool. And he's like, I'm playing a simpler game of hockey. And to him, that's just playing kind of an easy way of hockey. And I think, Marc-Andre Fleury had a huge help in that. We're going to talk about Marc-Andre Fleury and get to him in just a minute as well. But I love that Gus refound himself this year. And I think the way that he acknowledged how he knows how he needs to play, right? So I think that's only going to be tremendous moving forward for him.
I agree. Again, no notes.
No notes.
You're kind of just taking it and running with it. And I'm like, yeah, I have nothing else to add.
I know. The one thing that I do, here's an audio clip from Gus, is he talked about how much Fleury meant to him, but the interesting part of this note was he talked about how there wasn't a rivalry with Fleury versus in the goaltending position because only one can play at a time. There tends to be, but he talked a little bit about how that made for a very unique situation. Take a listen. Oh, actually, never mind. Don't take a listen. I forgot I don't have this audio. My phone died. But yeah, he talked about how there wasn't a rivalry with Fleury and how there's going to be kind of a quote unquote rivalry with Jesper coming in. And we saw Jesper with the team a little bit. How are you feeling about the tandem without Marc-Andre Fleury as we lead into his final NHL exit media day here? How do you feel about Gus and Jesper, knowing how tough Jesper struggled this year?
I'm feeling good about the goaltending in general, just because I'm very pleased with how Gus performed this season. So I'm very confident in him heading into the next year. But I'm very nervous about Jesper. We know what he's capable of, but this year was really, really rough for him. So mentally, I'm hoping that's what it was, just a down year, and that he can regroup this off season and come back next year and find his groove up in Minnesota. So I'm hopeful, but I'm nervous.
It makes me kind of want, and I will be sure to maybe ask Billy about this. We'll see how he feels. I think it's a fair question. I would like to explore free agency for a potential 1 to 2 year veteran older goalie, right? Like, I think I have no concerns about Gus, and I have no concerns about him being that starting goalie 110%, right? And working 70% of the games this season. I don't have any problems with that. But you're right. I think my worry is the bounce back from Jesper. Can he do that? Can he do that now in this NHL level? So that's where it's like I would like to have maybe that older goalie that has been around the block, only needs to come in for a couple games, but you at least have that to lean on in case Jesper isn't ready, right? And we won't know that. It's not fair to say because, again, look at what Philip Gustafsson was able to do in bounce back from his, I don't want to say disastrous, but it was a bad year. And this one for Jesper very much felt disastrous. Again, you can reset, you can do all of that. But I'm curious to see how that works. I am excited for Gus to kind of be that mentor that Fleury was to him, and we've already seen that. He definitely has taken Jesper under his wing. I know during training camp they were hanging out all the time. Obviously, they're both Swedish, so that has that natural connection. But I would like to see Bill Guerin explore a little bit on a older goalie for a shorter stint, possibly.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that idea. I think just because there are so many question marks with Jesper coming out of this season, and after being so excited about him, the excitement has turned more to concern. But I don't know, there's still a lot of time, different group. We'll see. That's kind of where I'm at as far as Jesper. We'll see.
Minimally questions. That's all it is. Like, if not concern, minimally there are questions that I have. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it. Before we wrap up the Minnesota Wild season, here is Marc-Andre Fleury just being Marc-Andre Fleury about his final NHL career. I want to give one more shout out to him in general. Just, we've said it time and time again, he is such an incredible human being, and Wild fans are so lucky to have been able to watch him and have him in their kind of space. I love that he's going to stay in Minnesota now, it sounds like. But from my perspective, I'm so grateful that I got to cover him and get to know him as well and just be around him, because I think being around him, you're happier a little bit, right? He just brings that out of you, and to have had him on the podcast before and for him to just be so gracious with us in his time all the time, I'm really, really grateful for that.
Yeah, just it's very surreal to know we got to see him on a nightly basis here in Minnesota up close in the final years of his career. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of memes. He'll be missed.
So missed. I love that I also have photos with him where we're wearing different weird outfits. Like, I don't have like a normal picture. Like, I have one of him where I'm wearing a Kentucky Derby outfit, and then another one where he's wearing a bowling outfit, like all of these times. So I look forward to seeing him in regular street clothes and me in regular street clothes and just being like, what's up, Flower? Mm-hmm. And yeah, very lucky. Wish him nothing but the best. I know he'll probably be very excited to spend time with the family, which is well-deserved as well. So here's Marc-Andre Fleury.
I don't know, I had a little time maybe in my car after the game, driving home by myself, and I had a little time to reflect. Which was, I don't know, still a little unbelievable. Jeez, not English already. Yeah, it's over, it's like 20-some years went by, like, so quick, right? And I love my teammates, love my team here too, right? And I thought the guys, like, played so well in the playoffs and gave a good run at, Vegas was one of the best teams in the league, and we all believed, we could come back and have a chance here. And I don't know, it's like, it's coming, right? I knew it's coming, but it's still sad a bit, when it happens for real. I'm worried about that, yeah. I've heard it from different guys also, right? It's like, you play a season, you playoffs, and then it's normal, right? You got your summers and you can work out and stuff. I probably won't work out much, but this time. But I think, when camp comes around and yeah, I think that's when it might hit me a little more.
All right, and with that, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Bardown Beauties. Again, as the offseason approaches, we'll probably have a change to scheduling because there's nothing to talk about sometimes. At least not until the draft, at least not until free agency. Free agency, we will be back in full swing. But stay tuned for any schedule changes that we might be having with the offseason approach. Until then, go... Now I kind of want the Jets to beat Dallas, I think. That's who I'm all in on.
Absolutely.
I know, but you know me.
I was
this
going to
is
say
tough.
something very harsh, and then I remembered this is a family-friendly podcast, so F Dallas.
I just, yeah, I think Winnipeg, there's just like a feel good for me there. And the whiteout does look sick. I get that. I don't love that they claim that that's their thing only, but it looks so good.
Sorry, my high school did whiteouts. Like, get over yourself. No idea is original. I'm just saying.
Is also true. And yeah, so as always, you guys are awesome. Shout out to Wild PR too for helping us out this season with all of their interviews and access and everything like that. Shout out to Billy, John, the players, everybody. It was a fun season to cover. There was much less turmoil than I expected, some angst with all the injuries, but the team did much, much better than I thought they would this year. And so I'm very excited about the future, without question, to see what is next for your Minnesota Wild.
And even more importantly, we're officially out of cap hell.
Yay! Oh, before we go too, we should probably give shout out to the PWHL Minnesota squad, the Frost. They are moving on into the playoffs. They are Toronto selected them, right? Or no? It's because
Montreal selected
Ottawa, so Toronto got Minnesota. Okay. So that is a rematch of last year's finals. Minnesota will start on the road, and then they will bring it back here in the best of 7 series. Look forward to those playoffs starting. It's been a very up and down season for the Frost. They barely made it into the playoffs, in fact, but shout out to them on their run as that kicks off this week. And shout out to the Wolves. Oh.
That was no,
we're just howling. Oh,
it's just a howl. Just a howl.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, I did it.
No, at first it sounded more like a whine as opposed to a howl.
Fair. Well, go Wolves. Go sports. We love sports. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you later. Near.